not only in all of the network marketing industry, but one of the most powerful speakers I've heard in my career of listening to speakers. This gentleman is a true servant leader. He never even wants to leave the field to even have any downtime, to have any fun. He creates his own fun. His definition of fun is out helping people achieve what we call life unlimited here inside of Zija International. This gentleman has risen to the top heights of the compensation plan. He's $1 million earner here inside of Zija International. And as I stated before, the most important thing to him is the success that he's created in his organization, the lineage that's following him and aspiring to higher heights. And please help me welcome to the stage Mr. Kevin Mullens.
Y'all a little bit excited? I can't hear you. You excited? Well, we've come to the end of the presentation, and we're here sort of at the end, and I trust that not only have you consumed enough information inside of you that resonates and creates enough conviction and passion to want to go do something remarkable and spectacular for you and your family and your teams, but you're also conscious and aware of the fact that, guys, we've got to become comfortable with getting uncomfortable. That we've got to become passionate about going the extra mile, because it's the little things you do that others are unwilling to do that separates your paychecks from someone else that's at the top of a compensation plan, that has the lifestyle or the income, maybe the title or the rank or the business that you desire to have. And I'm here to tell you that your future is not intimidated by your current circumstances. I want to say that again. Your future is not intimidated by your current circumstances. See, most of us have not invested wisely into our dreams. Now, it's kind of cool to talk about what your dream is or what you aspire to be. And we all know that the difference between who you are and what you want to be is what you do. Which means at some point, you got to get beyond getting a vision leadership. I talk to a lot of people that tell me what they're going to do. All kinds of people love to talk a good talk. But there's a difference between having a vision leadership and getting things done leadership. And the people that choose to get things done are those that aren't afraid to get their hands dirty every once in a while. They're aware that this is not something that you commit to doing on Thursday night or Friday or every once in a while. This is something that you choose to do all day, every day. You say, Kevin, I got a part-time job, full-time job, I'm busy. Everybody in the room is busy. But you can spend your entire life busy being broke or busy being productive. Guys, I don't know about you, but I want to be productive. So many come to convention and summit, and you're around other leaders, and a lot of you tonight are at not only a crossroads in your business, but you're also at a crossroads in your personal life. There's struggles that you're going through that you cover up maybe with a smile that nobody else knows. There's moments that define who you are. Those are the times that build character in our lives that transcend even the checks you earn in this industry. And it's at that time that you begin to separate yourself. And so many of you tonight are thinking, I'm not adequate enough. I'm not skilled enough. I haven't been equipped enough. I didn't get enough training. Guys, this is something that you learn as you do. It's not written in a book. I've been talking about Scripture my entire life, and I'm still not sure if I understand much of it. I just understand that I believe it. And so I'm here to tell you that because you're broken, that's not the end of things. Stop allowing your past to hold a tight grip on not only your current circumstances, but more importantly, your destiny. See, a lot of you tonight have dreams that are so small, it requires nothing of you to really go do anything spectacular in this industry. Your dream is so small that when failure comes up, it's easy to quit, it's easy to give in, cast in the towel and walk away, find fault in the company or the people that you're connected to. But when your dream is big, it requires more effort from you. When your dream is big and you vocally talk about that to other people, something about that level of responsibility and accountability puts you on a whole nother playing field, and it demands more of you in life. I want to encourage you to raise the standard. A standard is what you currently measure yourself by. Many of you look at your rank and you're bound by the title of that rank, and so many reach ranks one time, but then fail to ever reach that again. It's one thing to be consistent. It's another thing to be persistent. It's one thing to have faith. It's something to have hope. But guys, when you, with great relentless pursuit, I've always told my team that you'll never possess anything that you're unwilling to pursue. And so let go of things of the past. Give yourself permission to heal and to understand that a lot of who we are today and a lot of the things that hold us and bind us are just teachings that's been passed on to us by broke-minded people. It could be a parent, it could be a coach, it could be a teacher, it could be a pastor. Guys, we've got to remember, not only as so many leaders have said here today, that we are designed in the image of God, but can I tell you that there's a power in you that's greater than poverty? There's a power that if you were to allow it to become unleashed in the presence of the people that you're sharing this information with, they'll become also passionate about being part of your journey. Because we live in a world that's very dark today. We live in a world that's falling apart, and yet we've got an economy that seems to be holding together by a thread. Many of us are hoping that things will get better, and yet it seems to be getting worse. And yet in the middle of complete chaos and crisis, God has called us, you, me, and equipped each and every one of us to stand up as elite warriors of faith, not only fighting the good fight of faith, but to understand that God requires more of us. He requires us to produce increase, abundance, and overflow. To not settle for a life of mediocrity in the path of least resistance. To become comfortable with the tough decisions that few are ever willing to make, but it's required of us to make it. Because if we're going to consider ourselves to be world changers and mountain movers, guys, there's some things that we've got to become comfortable with. I've always told people, I know you've heard me say it before, and it's been talked about, adversity up here. But let me tell you something, adversity is not something to run from. Adversity is the birthplace of a supernatural promotion. The current tragedy that you're going through is what will elevate and promote you to the next level in life. The thing that you're running from is the thing that you should embrace. David would have never been king had Goliath not existed. The warfare that you're currently under is simply a sign that the enemy has discerned your future. Oh, I feel like saying that one more time. The warfare that you're under is only a sign that the enemy has discerned your future. But Kevin, you don't understand how broke I am. Let me tell you something, it's the broken cloud that produces rain. It's the broken soil that produces a crop. It's the broken grain that produces bread. It's broken bread that gives forth strength. Gideon said, I'm the least of my home, but God said, I've called you a warrior. You're thinking that your time is past, that maybe you've been left out of all the things that's going on in this company. Can I tell you that when the appointing of the king of Israel was chosen, that David, who we love to read about in the book of Psalms, wasn't even invited to the ceremony. No one even thought enough about him. And so if you're here tonight thinking, I'm overlooked, I'm inadequate, guys, I challenge you to change your belief system. I challenge you to understand that your actions will always materialize what it is that you believe. It's one thing to say something, but it's another thing to inwardly understand who you are. Not the new book that Kim Brailsford's all through the pages at that book. He's consistently talking about the invisible hand of God. Maybe you have felt that alone in your journey. And maybe you thought that just because things wasn't going your way that somehow maybe God has forgotten you or left you by the wayside. I'm here to tell you, that's never the truth. It's in the middle of those times, at the valley experience, that you feel like nobody understands. Guys, the valley that you're in is the gateway to the mountaintop experience. It's in that defining moment that you begin to realize that it's impossible to call yourself a believer if you only celebrate when your team's got momentum. It's when nobody's looking that you dig deep and realize, even as Paul, who was thrown in prison for something he didn't even do, and then when he was released from prison, the king said, do you have anything to say for yourself? Before Napoleon Hill ever wrote and penned Think and Grow Rich, before the power of positive thinking was ever talked about, my friend Bob, there was a king standing before Paul, and Paul said, I think myself happy. I think myself happy, which means that I choose who I am by the decisions I make and the actions that I take. See, you're here today and you're thinking, man, this is great information. But what good's the knowledge going to do you if you're never going to apply it? I understand knowledge is power. but knowledge is just potential power. There's a time in your life that you have to be willing to put one foot in front of the other and take massive action. We can talk about the laws of attraction till we're blue in the face, but the law of attraction will never work without the law of action. I'm going to say that one more time. The law of attraction is never going to work for you without the law of action. Some of you, if you'd be honest with yourself and look in the mirror, you're just not busy enough. Showing the presentation once or twice a week's not going to get the job done if you want to leave a mark on the world and change how people not only view you, but more importantly, the legacy that you live. You know, most of us has heard an incredible story of a football player by the name of Tim Tebow, and it's an often told story. It's not a new story, but it's told how that when he was playing for the University of Florida, that they were playing for the national title, and in that game, Tim Tebow was already a noted Christian. He was already a man known for wearing his beliefs upon his sleeves. And, you know, sometimes today people are offended by that, but I'm here to tell you, there's no room to be a coward in society that we live in today. There's no room to be backing down and hiding behind mountains of unbelief. Guys, if you've ever stood up and declared who you are with great conviction, that's what the world's looking for. They're looking for someone that says, I know how to get where you've never been before. It'll be bumpy along the road, but follow me. That's the disciples that we're trying to create. That's the message today, is that we know where we're going because we're following a group of core leaders at corporate that's been places and built billion-dollar industries. And guys, we're just holding on by the coattail, understanding that if we'll endure to the end, guys, that's the people that not only leave an impact, but leave legacies for others to look to and understand that change is something that we can control. Tim Tebow chose that particular game on the eye black underneath his eyes to wear John 3:16. And his dad called him up and said, Tim Tebow, we're not very superstitious, but you need to understand you wore Philippians 4:13 the entire season. And I just hope that in this game, that where it matters the most, that you don't change anything up. I don't want you to do it. And Tim Tebow said, no, I feel compelled to put John 3:16 on the eye black. Guys, in that professional football game, they went on, he won MVP, they won the national title. And then all of a sudden the next day, one of the assistant coaches calls Tim Tebow up and said, Timmy, said you broke a record last night. And he broke many records on the field. But he said, I'm not talking about those records. He said, during that televised football game last night on national television, he said, we just found out that John 3:16 was Googled 93 million times. Let me just tell you something here today. This is bigger than Zija. Guys, this is just an extension of ministry. That's all this is. Somebody today said we're not selling, we're sharing. That's all we're doing. We're just sharing the gospel in a different light. We've been mandatorily commissioned to live an abundant life, but you can't do that when you self-sabotage your journey with unbelief. I hear another story of a guy that was born in slavery, that was the first African-American to ever be nominated for vice president. His name was Frederick Douglass. And Frederick Douglass said, I was a slave, not only to a system, but to man. And I was treated as next to nothing. And he said, I prayed to my Heavenly Father for 20 years that he would set me free. And he said, I never heard the voice of God one time give me an answer. He said, but then I got up and I straightened myself and I began to pray with my legs. Guys, that means that we got to at some point move away from a whole lot of talk and start moving into taking some action. You want Zija to be $1 billion business? You want the 10-year anniversary to have 15, 20,000 people? You've got to get a little bit bigger vision. See, if your vision can be materialized with a hammer and a shovel, it's too small. If your vision can be materialized with a hammer and a shovel, it's too small. You got to have a vision that takes dump trucks. You got to have a vision that takes millions of dollars in liquid cash. You got to have a vision that scares most people. I know without a vision people perish. But vision without action is just more acclamations and proclamations and affirmations. That's not who we are. We're a different group. The culture of Zija comes from the founder of the company, and it breathes down life to every single person that's connected to this. So you can tell a lot about people by the people that they choose to call friends. Friends are a prophecy of your future. Look around the room today at who our friends are. You've heard from people like Luke, and you've heard from Tom, and you've heard from Jaron and Ryan. You've heard from so many people, and so when you leave here tonight, you're thinking, who am I? I want to remind you you that when Isaiah saw an entire nation in complete disarray, and he said, I heard the voice of the Lord saying, who will go for us? He didn't look around waiting on some other person to step up. Mother Teresa said, stop looking for leaders and go be the leader. Isaiah said, here am I. Woo! Here am I. Send me. That's your declaration tonight. Stop waiting on the upline to come run a meeting for you. Stop waiting on the next time that a double black diamond or a super galactic crown triple diamond elite will come into your house and do a home meeting. Step up to the plate and declare yourself leader of the community that you're in, and to understand, just as Tim Tebow had John 3:16. Listen to this, Googled over 93 million times. I meet people in this company that have huge vision, but you have a silent voice. You want your voice to be heard in the local community? Go choose to build a business so big that others have to stand up and recognize that what you're doing is unique and different than anything anybody's ever done before. We love to quote that greater is he that's in us. How many's ever said that before? Greater is he that is in me than he that is in my sickness, he that is in my circumstances. I want to close with something. I want you to understand this. If the spirit of Babe Ruth lived in Kevin Mullens, I'd hit home runs. That's what Babe Ruth does. If the spirit of Michelangelo was inside of me, I'd be a mighty sculptor and a world-class artist. If the spirit of Shakespeare was inside of me, I'd write great plays. If the spirit of Dr. Pinuel was in me, I'd take my clothes off on stage. But if the spirit of the living God is inside of you, I'm not worried about who my Father is tonight. There is no limitations to who we are and what we can accomplish. We love to say that with God all things are possible, but he went on to say that he gave us a measure of faith, and he said, with you nothing is impossible. It's simply things that we have created in our mind that are fictitious and do not exist. I want you to start praying with your legs. I want you to leave out of here, and I want you to find the people that you're connected to and the leaders that are sitting up here at these tables. I want you to find them and say, here's what my goals are. And don't create goals that are so small that it requires no effort or sacrifice from you. Set some goals that require some bleeding out of you. Set some goals that will stretch you and make you become a better leader. And for the leaders in the room, guys, now's not a time to go into management mode. Now's not a time to sit behind a desk and try to build a business through webinars. You got to get out and lead people and let them know that you care. Guys, you got to lead by an example. I had a pastor that would say, Kevin, as a leader, if you want your people to bleed for you, you got to be willing to hemorrhage for them. If you want your people to bleed for you, you got to go get in the trenches with them. You got to do things with them that nobody else is doing. I asked my mentor one time, Paul Orbison, I said, Paul, how many people do I got to recruit before I can stop? He said, until. I said, until when, Paul? He said, until you don't have to do it no more. I said, Paul, how long do I have to go before I can rest? I feel a little weak and tired in my body. He said, Kevin, until. I said, Paul Orbison, until when? He said, until you get the job done. Guys, we haven't scratched the surface of what Zija International is doing on a global scale. We've got a chance and a compensation plan and a product that is unmatched in the industry. But a perfect product won't win for you if you're not willing to strap up some courage inside of your life. Take on the enemies that you've created, that you got to face daily, and to understand truly there is an omnipotent source living inside of you that's far superior than anything that you'll ever face. And when we start looking people in the face and understanding who we are, they'll identify who you are not by what you say, but by the circumstances that you face, and how you get up every single time and continue to march forward. How that your testimony is never negative, Tommy, but it's always positive. And the reason it's positive is because you don't have to fake who you are. You've recognized that as a child of a sovereign God, that you've been created not only in his image, not only is there nothing impossible for you, but that we've been mandated to declare a greater purpose and a higher authority. I want you to stand to your feet with me as we come to a close. I know you're tired. Stand to your feet with me. I want you to repeat after me. And when you do so, you got to do it with some conviction in your heart. I will not quit.
I will not quit.
Oh no, I must be at another network marketing event. That don't sound like Zija distributors. I will not quit.
I will not quit.
I will not surrender.
I will not surrender. direction.
Somebody is depending on me.
Somebody's depending on me.
My family's depending on me.
My family's depending
My
on me.
team's depending on me.
My kids are depending
This company's depending on me.
This company's depending on me.
Today is a new day.
Today is a new
I
day.
will no longer abandon my dreams.
I will no longer abandon
I
my
will no longer live in fear.
I will no longer live
I'm a
in fear.
difference maker.
I'm the difference
I'm
maker.
a game changer.
I'm a game changer.
I'm a messenger of hope.
I'm a messenger of hope.
I'm a mountain mover. I am in control of my destiny.
I am in control of
By
my
the decisions I make
decisions I make
and the actions that I take.
and the